This is Woodhaven Boulevard, a major north-south arterial road across Queens. Every single day, 48,000 cars travel on it, making traffic here an absolute nightmare. And taking a bus down this corridor isn't any better. The major bus routes that run along Woodhaven Boulevard is the Q52 and Q53 select bus service and various local buses. And they are crowded. This was from back in March, and the buses were so packed that I had to wait for the next bus. In fact, Q52 and 53 combined carry over 30,000 riders every day. And with the traffic on Woodhaven Boulevard, those buses are slow. Yes, they are bus lanes, but it barely helps as you would end up waiting for the same red light as the cars on nearby lanes. Queens has become the fastest growing borough in New York City, with a 17% population growth since 1988. The commute pattern has also been changing over time, with more Queens residents working in Queens than in Manhattan. However, the subway lines in Queens has remained Manhattan-centric, with lines divided into serving northern and southern Queens. This makes it difficult for north-south travel within the borough. If you want to travel from, let's say, Rockaway Park to Queens Center Mall, you either have to detour through downtown Brooklyn or lower Manhattan on the subway, or take the Q52 and 53 bus, which, like I just showed you, is slow, crowded, and inefficient. Many commuters may end up driving, but for those who need to rely on public transit, the inner borough commute can take 30-40 minutes or even over an hour. But there is a solution. Just a few minutes walk from Woodhaven Boulevard, you come across an old railroad bridge. This railroad bridge once carried the Rockaway Beach Branch, a branch of the Bar that spurred from the main line at Rego Park and ran down to the Rockaways. The Rockaway Beach Branch first opened in 1880 as the New York Woodhaven Rockaway Railroad. In 1887, the line was bankrupt and sold to the Bar. In 1950, the wooden trestle across Jamaica Bay caught fire, and 2 years later, the portion south of Ozone Park was sold to the city. The city converted it into a subway line and is now used by the A train. Bar continued to operate the section north from Ozone Park until 1962, when it ceased operation because of low ridership, and it has been sitting abandoned since then. QueensLink, a non-profit organization, is advocating to reactivate the 3.5 miles long abandoned railroad line for subway service. Under this plan, the Amtrak was split off from the Queens Boulevard line after 63rd Drive and run down the Rockaway Beach Branch right away to the Rockaways, with 4 new stations at Metropolitan Avenue. Jamaica Avenue was a transfer to the J and Z trains. Atlantic Avenue with a connection to the Bar's reopened Woodhaven Station, and Liberty Avenue with a transfer to the A train. Additionally, QueensLink plans to use the space around the rail line to create parkland, 33 acres to be exact. So how will QueensLink change the commute of Queens residents? First off, QueensLink will create Queens' first north-south subway. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, more Queens residents are working inside their home borough, increasing the demand for north-south travel. This has led to slow commutes on north-south buses like Q52 and 53, and traffic congestion on Woodhaven Boulevard and One-Way Expressway, 2 major north-south roadways in Queens. With QueensLink, the borough's first north-south subway line, it will take around 10 minutes from Liberty Avenue to 63rd Drive. Your long commute from northern Queens to southern Queens, or vice versa, can easily be cut in half. This will take traffic off Woodhaven Boulevard and One-Way Expressway, and Woodhaven Boulevard bus riders don't have to pack onto a slow bus that gets stuck in traffic anymore. Secondly, QueensLink will boost service on Queens Boulevard line local track by freeing up capacity at Forest Hills. Forest Hills is a terminal bad at turning around trains, and it can only turn around 20 trains per hour. With CBTC, QBR local tracks can run up to 36 trains per hour. That means there is unused capacity on QBR's local track because of the turnaround capacity of Forest Hills. Fumigation reform can help you increase the turnaround capacity, but by rerouting the M train to the Rockaways, capacity on QBR local track can be boosted by 10 trains per hour. QueensLink proposes for the G to return to Forest Hills. I lean towards increasing frequency on the R train or the N train if the R and N get swapped. This is because QBR riders lean towards Manhattan-bound service, but either way, QBR local riders will benefit from QueensLink. Local service west of 63rd Drive will be increased to around 30 trains per hour, Service east of 63rd Drive will be able to remain the same as the current level because of the boosted service. While I am not sure if this is officially proposed by QueensLink, converting Woodhaven Boulevard into an express station will also help QBL. Currently, Roosevelt Avenue gets extremely overcrowded because of the amount of people that transfer here. This causes trains to be held, leading to delays. By converting Woodhaven Boulevard into an express station, 63rd Drive and 67th Avenue riders will transfer to the express train at Woodhaven Boulevard instead of Roosevelt Avenue, helping to spread the load. This should not be costly as Woodhaven Boulevard station was built with provisions for the conversion. The next benefit goes to Rockaway residents. QueensLink will cut commute times for Rockaway residents. A train has to swim through downtown Brooklyn and lower Manhattan before heading to Midtown Manhattan. The trip from the Rockaways to Midtown can take up to an hour. The A train also has to share tracks with the C through the Cranberry Tunnel and itself also splits into 3 branches in Queens during rush hours, making the headways really bad out in the Rockaways. With QueensLink, Rockaway riders will get faster and more frequent service to Midtown Manhattan, cutting 15 minutes off their commute in each direction. And with the service boost on QBL local track I mentioned earlier, Amtrak can run 10 to 12 trains per hour to the Rockaways. If we also de-interline the Fulton Street line, Rockaway Park and Far Rockaway will get 12 trains per hour each. That is much better than the service we see today. Finally, the M train will take over service from the Rockaway Park shuttle, giving Rockaway Park riders a one-seat ride to Manhattan at all times. Next, QueensLink will also include 33 acres of parkland, feature protected bike lanes, which is something Queens lacks. The Rockaway Beach Branch was originally built with 4 tracks. The reactivated subway line will only need 2 tracks, so there is ample space within the right-of-way to build parkland and bike lanes. Last but not least, QueensLink is being built on an existing right-of-way. Why is this important? Well, securing a right-of-way is often challenging in densely populated areas. If it involves taking private property, the cost would balloon. With the right-of-way already there, we would avoid all of that, making the project much cheaper. In fact, the MTA is doing the same thing with the Interborough Express. The Interborough Express, or IBX for short, will be built on the Aldebar Bay Ridge branch, which takes the same idea of utilizing existing right-of-ways to expand transit. With all the benefits QueensLink can bring, you might think funding and building QueensLink is a no-brainer. However, there is an elephant in the room: QueensWay. QueensWay is a competing proposal to convert the entire Rockaway Beach Branch right-of-way into a park. While QueensLink is overwhelmingly more popular with 75% of residents along the line supporting it according to a poll, QueensWay has been supported by politicians like Mayor Eric Adams. With those supports, QueensWay is coming close to becoming a reality with its initial section being funded in 2022. It is really disappointing that politicians have chosen to fund a linear park that nobody wants instead of a combination of transit and park that is overwhelmingly more popular. Don't get me wrong, I am not against parks, quite the opposite in fact. However, I also support transit. That is why supporting QueensLink is a no-brainer to me, as it includes both transit and a park. Some of you might say, why not build the park first and build transit later? Well, tearing apart a park to build transit will be extremely challenging and will drive up the cost. In the 1960s and 70s, when the 63rd Street Tunnel was constructed through Central Park, a portion of the park had to be digged out. This led to community opposition, which ended up driving up the cost. QueensLink, on the other hand, will build the transit and the park together, so that won't be an issue. If the QueensWay is built first, it will be nearly impossible to reactivate the train line again. This really shows the true intention of QueensWay. It is not just a park, but it is a transit blocker. If they really wanted a park, they would still get that park with QueensLink. In fact, QueensWay once said on their website that Queens doesn't need another subway line, which is a ridiculous claim. The QueensWay and the political will of the New York politicians are the reasons for QueensLink not being built. Even though the MTA is saying that reusing existing right-of-way is a good idea with the IBX, they have little interest to reactivating the Rockaway Beach Branch. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, as QueensLink has received $400,000 in federal grant and $100,000 was included in the 2026 state budget for QueensLink to conduct a study on the reactivation of the Rockaway Beach Branch. So there is still hope for the QueensLink to be built. Queens is in desperate need of better transit. QueensLink is a solution to give Queens residents what they deserve. If the QueensWay gets built, the opportunity to utilize an existing right-of-way for better transit will be gone. Remember that without the right-of-way, the cost of this project will balloon and will be nearly impossible to build. With the strong political backing of QueensWay, QueensLink will need your help to not miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you support QueensLink, please use the link in the description below to write a letter to our city and state leaders, telling them that how much we need QueensLink. And remember, no way with QueensWay.